Way Up with Angela Yee. I'm Angela Yee, and I didn't do this just for the food, but Chef JJ Johnson is here with us today. What's up, Chef JJ?
What's up? How
Johnson.
are you?
What do I call you, Chef JJ Johnson, Chef? What do you
can
prefer?
just call me JJ. We're not in the kitchen.
Okay, all right. But you do have some food for me from your restaurant.
I do have some food from my
Field
restaurant
House.
called Field Trip.
Oh, Field Trip. Sorry, Field Trip. Yes.
It's all good. We have a location in Harlem, Rock Center, and one Upper West Side in front of Columbia University.
And the goal is for this to be all over, right?
Yeah, the goal is for it to grow, for people to get affordable food in neighborhoods that look like ours or working class neighborhoods. I'm fortunate to be up to 3 locations and constantly keep trying to grow.
That is a big deal, too, because let me tell you something. Having one coffee shop myself, it is definitely just even dealing with like making sure that you're hiring the right employees,
Correct.
that they actually want incentives to stay, too. Because I feel like people have a lot of options right now.
Yeah, people do have a lot of options. I think the food industry is changing. And people want to be in a safe space. People want to be known, their voices heard. And I think we do that really well. I try to hire the best possible person all the time. And I'm just looking for good people. Like, we could train you.
Right.
And we have, our retention rate is really good. We have, I think 93% of our employees have still been there. And we promote you. Like, if you work for me, I'm looking for you to get promoted. So I would big shout out to Shay. Shay is one of my longest employees. She was a porter when she started. Now she's a team lead. And the next time we open a location, she will probably be the manager of that location.
That's amazing. We love that. I was talking to you about the movie Hunger that I was just watching. And I was like, because on there it was like, look, chefs, it makes it look like the head chef has no sense of humor. You're not allowed to do certain things. And it was a well-oiled machine, but it also felt super stressful. But you're saying that's old school.
Yeah, I think the industry is just it is stressful because we are at the hands of the people, and you are looking for your food. So we try to get it to be an oiled machine, but all that rah, not treating people right, that's the old industry. We are trying not to be like that anymore, and I know in my kitchens we're not doing that.
And Field Trip, one thing about Field Trip, it all starts with the rice, right?
Yeah, I brought you a bowl here today. This is our famous fried chicken bowl. It's marinated in like 15 spices. It comes with Carolina Gold rice, freshly milled from South Carolina. And then it comes with our sticky barbecue sauce.
Let's take a look.
Let's see.
Y'all listen and
It was delivered.
Doesn't that look good?
And then also has our famous our wok collard greens inside.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Can you calm down over here? Why do you have your prayer hands up?
I got
You're
you.
going to get some food. Don't worry. JJ bought food for everybody. He got the prayer hands. Don't worry. We feed people up here too, all right? It's not just about us. But I want to talk about, I watched you on Good Morning America. One thing I did not realize is that you're supposed to add salt after the rice is cooked. This whole time I always put my salt in the rice while it's cooking.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Well, yeah, if you put the salt in the rice after it's cooked, the rice will cook quicker and it will cook evenly. And the grains will burst.
Okay.
Now, you told me you grew up in a Chinese restaurant, right?
Well, no, I did not grow up. I have family members who have owned Chinese restaurants. So growing up, like at the holidays, it was always a lot of pork fried rice, and I don't eat pork, so I could only eat white rice. They would always have one little pot of white rice that was just for me because I was the only one who didn't eat pork.
But it was probably the best white rice ever.
Yeah, I like a sticky white rice.
Oof.
And nice and fluffy. And I love that you said Carolina because my mom always used Carolina.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, growing up. And I remember having to use Uncle Ben's.
No, let's not come on.
But when I was in college, I'm not going to lie, the Uncle Ben's converted rice, it just doesn't hit the same. It's like super separated. And remember the boil in a bag rice?
We're trying to move away from
the
that.
boil. Remember
We're
those?
trying to move away.
But you do have this book. The reason we're talking about rice so much because not only does Field Trip start with the rice bowl, but you have this book, The Simple Art of Rice.
Yes.
That has some really amazing recipes, right? And rice is kind of a staple for me. And so I want to talk about the health benefits of rice and what type of rice we should be eating because we always hear people say if you're trying to lose weight or you want to do better, rice doesn't have nutritional value. White rice, they say, always doesn't have nutritional value. Now, for you, I'm going to get your thoughts on that because I always try to eat brown rice. My favorite rice is black rice.
Me too.
Right. Okay, good.
Yeah, it has vitamin B, amino acids. It's grown black.
Mm-hmm. It's more
milled
expensive
black,
than everything else.
and it's served black. You can't do nothing to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell anybody that has diabetes out there or family members with diabetes, they should start putting black rice into their diet.
Okay.
So I love black rice.
All right. So talk to me about what they say about rice and how white rice is supposedly not good for you and it has no health benefits. I just want to know because I'm a person who always thinks about health too.
I mean, rice is amazing. I call it like the miracle ingredient. It makes your dinners easier. It does all those things. From the health side, I think the reason there's a lot that the reason why media beats up rice is because it was a cash crop for America, and we used to grow it.
Okay.
And when we stopped growing it, people couldn't grow rice the same way. So the rice that started to come on the market was this parboiled, enriched rice grain that isn't good for us.
Okay.
And that's what most of us absorb. Now, I think we have access to better supermarkets.
Mm-hmm.
We have access to more knowledge. And there's different types of rice on the shelf. Maybe where you live, you might be able to chance to get to a farmer's market where you might be able to get freshly milled rice.
Right.
So white rice, I don't think there's anything brown rice versus white rice. I think they all have their own benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Brown rice is just a whole grain. White rice just doesn't have as much nutritional value as the brown rice does because the bran and the germ is taken off.
Okay.
I can get really geeky about this stuff.
No, this is interesting to me.
And
the forbidden black rice.
The forbidden black rice. But forbidden black rice, the reason why it's forbidden black rice is that emperors in China used to have black rice.
Right.
And then people started dying rice because they wanted to be an emperor. I mean, I would have died rice too to try to be an emperor. But I think rice has a lot of value. A guy that I work out with from time to time, dude named Joe Holder, says that the best rice you should eat is you should steam your rice. When it's done, let it sit there. Mm-hmm. Come back from the gym. That rice that starts to stick together that you love, that rice starch, is actually good for you to intake to build muscle when you come out of the gym.
Okay.
So, but everything is good in moderation.
Right. We don't want to just eat rice all day like
No. But I talk about that in the cookbook, The Simple Art of Rice. And I break down 30 different rice grains that you can add into your cabinet. But if you can't get them, you can have rice with lentils and chickpeas. You can have rice for breakfast. You can make rice crepes. You can make roti. Mm-hmm. There's many different things that I take you on a journey with. And also to make your kitchen a lot simpler so that if you're a working parent, you can cook for a couple days in a week.
Now, let's talk about your background because you have Caribbean roots.
Yes.
So I would assume that you grew up with a lot of rice. I
did grow up with a lot of rice, yeah. Mm-hmm. My mom is Puerto Rican and Bayesian. My grandfather was from Barbados. My grandmother's from Puerto Rico. My dad's African-American.
Okay.
I didn't really find out. I was raised as a black boy. But the table, my Puerto Rican grandmother set the table as a young kid. It had everything from asopao to rice, chicken rice and beans to sancocho to many different flavors. And then when you come to my grandmother's house in Harlem, she would have, red beans and rice. She would have, white rice with Viennetta sausages chopped up in it. So rice was always at the table, and it was very delicious. I did get to a point in my mom's not gonna like this one, but I did get to a point in my life where I didn't like rice. Going back to that box rice, my mom as a working mom was cooking box rice, and the television was telling everybody that was the quickest thing to do.
I was doing that too.
And I was
Mom,
it's mushy, it's undercooked. What is going on here?
You said that's because she told you want to be a chef. That's why you cared about it so much. You know what was the best invention, and you address this in the book too? The rice cooker.
Oh yeah.
Because some people really can't cook rice at all. I've had people who they burn the pot, or it's always either you got to add more water or you put too much water and it gets really mushy. And so the rice cooker for me in college, that was a lifesaver because you could also just put it in your dorm room.
Hold on, you had the rice cooker in college?
I did.
They're saying that's the number one thing in kids' dorm rooms right now is a rice cooker.
Oh, okay, so I thought you were going to say, yeah.
No, you were ahead of your time on that one.
I definitely had a rice cooker, perfect rice every single time. All you got to do is pour the water in, push it down, and poop, it pops up when it's ready.
Yeah, right. The rice cooker is a new toaster.
Oh, yep, absolutely. What about adding butter?
Oh, why not?
Okay, just making sure because I like that. And coconut milk.
Why? Let's do it.
Okay, I think coconut milk, and I also like pumpkin rice.
Ooh, what's pumpkin rice? Walk me through that.
Shout out to my girl Melissa and the Grill. So every time I go there, I always get the curry chicken with pumpkin rice.
I like this.
Yeah.
And they just fold some pumpkin like.
I don't know
chopped
how
up.
they make it. I can't say, but it's delicious.
We're gonna have to pull up there to the grill.
Yes, you will absolutely love that. So you also have in here Liberian jollof.
Oh yeah. Why you gonna do this to me?
So now, why Liberian jollof? Because everybody says they have the best jollof, right?
Everybody does say that.
Yeah. So for you would let me go off the beaten path of what you would expect in this cookbook.
I think Liberian food is on the rise.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever had Liberian food.
Yeah, I was put onto Liberian food like 3 years ago, and I had Liberian jollof, and I thought it was amazing. It reminded me of jambalaya.
Okay.
And it's like a little bit more sticky. It has seafood and meat inside. It's kind of like the kitchen sink kind of jollof. Like you have your chicken wings, you have your beef, you have your seafood. It's a complete meal. I think if you're trying to show off, you could throw it in the middle of the table for your friends or family, and it's gonna be popping. But I also wanted to highlight something else because I'm always in the debates about Ghanaian jollof and Nigerian jollof.
And they get very heated discussions online about who has, okay.
Field Trip has jollof, it's Ghanaian jollof because I cooked in Ghana, so that's the jollof I know how to make. But I felt in the book it's exciting to highlight another African country that cooks jollof because they all do it, and I believe that jollof is the connective tissue between us and West Africa. Like it keeps us wanting to go back there and learn more about it. Like when you go, if anybody tells you go to Nigeria, they're like, yo, you got to get jollof first thing.
Right, they definitely do. And let's talk about your whole process to where you got to today, right? Because you knew from when you were young that this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I was 7 years old.
7 years old. How did you know that at such a young age?
I think about it every day. I have no idea. I watch a commercial for Culinary Institute of America. I told my parents that's where I was going to go to school. They thought I was talking trash.
Right.
That's where I wound up going.
You stayed on that path this whole time.
I did. There was a couple times I wanted to get off the path, but my dad was like, listen, your mom didn't want you to go to culinary school. I fought for you to go.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap at all. You better figure this out. And you better push through. And I'm happy I had him in my corner through college telling me that I needed to stay there and it would work itself out. Because it was hard. I was the worst person in cooking.
Really?
Terrible.
Why were you the worst person,
Because I came from a household that cooked flavor and added spice and all these things to the kitchen.
So they wanted to be bland?
It was very straightforward in technique.
Because I always look at cooking as something creative. I would think they would like the flavor and the...
I think they want to teach you the foundation, and then once you get into the world, it's like, okay, you can add your own flavor to it. But the process for me, and I think a lot of other students of color at the Culinary Institute of America or any culinary school is like, well, hold on, my grandma said to do it like this, and it was delicious. Why all of a sudden would I do it like this, and it tastes worse than my grandmother's food? Right? So... But then you realize, like, okay, you're teaching me the perfect way how to make roasted chicken. Now I'm going to add in the things I learned from childhood or from my family or my travels. And then now I got the perfect roasted chicken with all the flavor, and then nobody can cook better than us.
So after that, right, so you're in school. How does this whole process work? Because I know there's a lot of people who feel like, oh, I could be a chef, I could do this. But it's definitely not easy. So you were trained in how to do things the way that is the standard, the gold standard, and then you're able to add your twist. How hard was it for you to get a job after graduating?
It wasn't hard for me to get a job after I graduated. I did my internship in New York City at Tribeca Grill. I went back.
That's a nice internship.
It was great. It was in its prime.
Right.
Like 1,000 covers a night. It was wild.
Okay.
And then I grew up in Pennsylvania, in the Poconos. I went back and worked at a place called Skytop Lodge. But I promised my parents I would get my bachelor's. So I went to Seton Hall, but I hated it.
Okay. My parents live in South Orange.
Okay.
So Seton Hall is right there.
Nice place.
Yeah, beautiful place. But you got your bachelor's in what?
I left.
Oh, you just left. Okay.
I said, this isn't for me, so another waste of money.
But what a great investment your parents made in you, by
terrible,
the way.
right?
No, they did, because look, you never know. If you wouldn't have done all those things, you might not be sitting right where you are today, right?
Yeah, and then I went back to Culinary Institute of America, got my bachelor's degree in like culinary science or culinary arts. And my first job was at Wegmans.
Okay.
In a management training program. And I literally was like that kid that was like, oh, I can't believe this is my first job. I went to culinary school.
I'm working at Wegmans.
I'm working at Wegmans. And it was the only place I was ever fired. I literally put my 2-week notice in. He was like, chef's like, I'm like, not accepted. Today's
Why
your
did you
last
get
day.
fired?
He wouldn't take my notice. He's like, today's your last day. So it was mutual. Like
Okay.
he wasn't feeling me and I wasn't feeling him.
Right.
But I look back and I'm like, wow, Wegmans definitely knows what they're doing. Maybe I should have stayed there a little longer. And then I worked at a restaurant called Jane, which was on West Houston between Thompson and LaGuardia.
Is that like the Jane Hotel?
No, it was Jane.
okay.
It was known for its gnocchi, brunch on weekends, French toast, like really busy place. They opened up the Smith. I helped them open up the Smith.
Okay. Been there.
And then when I left there, I worked at a restaurant that was really toxic. And I went to corporate America. So I worked at Morgan Stanley Executive Dining Room on the 41st floor.
Right.
And changed the menu every day. I never knew that a place like that existed. But I missed it. I missed the private sector. And I couldn't get a job. I was like applying for jobs. And I was like, I just kept getting sous chef jobs. I'm like, hold on, I have all this experience. Why can't I get a chef de cuisine? Why can't I get an executive chef job? So I went on a cooking show called Rocco's Dinner Party. And I won this show, and I got a call from a gentleman named Alexander Smalls, who opened up this restaurant called Seale in Minton with Dick Parsons.
And that's where I first knew of you, from going to Cecil's and Minton.
It was my claim to fame.
Yeah.
But
that restaurant, by the way, is amazing, and the food there was so good. And there's a lot of restaurants I might go to just for ambiance and vibe, but it had a great ambiance vibe, and the food was good.
Yeah, and we were cooking something like, probably you could relate to it, right, based off your background, but many people never heard of like Afro-Asian American cooking.
And it had the little, it had a performance. What would you call it? A speakeasy or
jazz
club?
Minton's
Jazz Club is
shop.
right there.
So I worked there for about 4 years. Before I worked there, I was cooked in Ghana. I worked there for 4 years, and then I left. And I was like, okay, I worked really hard here, poured out all my blood, sweat, and tears. If I worked this hard for myself,
right? Imagine
what I could do.
But the restaurant business is a tough one. Keeping a restaurant open, we always hear about that. As far as like the rate of, what's the rate of how many restaurants percentage wise like end up not working?
I try not to think about it.
Listen, but it feels like you have. I also feel like sometimes it could be poor management too.
I think it's a lot. Like I think,
and it's hard. Just
very hard.
Even knowing how to order the right amount of what you need to order, it costs so much money to get the right food, to have the best ingredients too, right? I saw you were talking about Chipotle and why Chipotle does well.
They do very well, yeah.
Because they talk about fresh, like everything is.
They understand the supply chain. They talk about being super fresh. They give you a very consistent product every time you walk through the door. I mean, that's the hardest thing with us now is like we have 3 locations. It's like when you walk through Field Trip where you get the same fried chicken every location.
Consistency.
We strive for that. But yeah, it's management. It's a people business. Like you got to keep people happy.
Right.
And that's a hard thing to do.
How are you about eating at people's houses? Like when other people are cooking for you. Is that hard for you?
I'm down for it. I love it.
Okay.
I cook for people all the time. The problem is when you're a chef and somebody else cooks, they always invite you in the kitchen. Hey, you'll come over here.
You're like,
Let me
I'm
see
not
what
working
you're
right
doing.
now.
And the next thing you know, you're cutting limes or lemons or you're because it's just natural in you to help out.
Right.
But yeah, my friends always are scared to invite me to their house when they're cooking. They're like, you going to bring the field trip or you going to come over with some food?
Yeah, just bring some food with you.
Right. So.
And you do have a cooking show too. Let's not forget that. That's on Clio TV. So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I have a cooking show on Clio TV called Just Eats with Chef JJ. We're on our 5th season.
I'll be on this season. I already booked my time slots. Okay.
I can't wait to get you in the kitchen.
My only contingency, I was like, can I bring my coffee? With me so we can use my coffee and
we got it.
Let's drink
do it.
some. Okay, perfect. Okay.
I already know I'm cooking. You got my mind thinking now what we're gonna do.
Some type of coffee rub? No.
Maybe. Maybe do a little vinaigrette with the coffee.
Talk about the cooking show just for a second here, and like some people that have been featured on the show, and what made you decide to do your own thing with that, and how that happened.
Well, yeah, big shout out to Rochelle Brown and Powerhouse Productions. They came to me and said, hey, we think you're great on camera. Nobody's really seen you before. There's a new startup network coming out, part of TV One called Clio TV. We'd love for you to kick it off. And I was like, my dream, I used to walk the halls of high school telling people, oh man, I'm gonna be better than Emeril Lagasse.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, all right, man, whatever. Nobody's gonna be a chef. So to be on television is a dream. And to get a network behind you that believes in you and a production company is even better.
Right.
So, we've had Slim Thug, we've had Yandy.
Shout out to Slim Thug. He just put an album out too last week. He has a song about a midlife crisis.
Oh boy.
He's so funny. Okay.
He's a big foodie.
Yeah, he is.
And we have some of my friends. We have influencers. We're about to have you, which is super exciting. But it's kitchen table talk. You come on. We're kicking it and I'm cooking. It's like you just said, like you're in my kitchen and I'm just walking through you some things that you probably never seen on television before on the food stations that we watch.
You know what I want to ask you as a chef? Does it bother you when people are like, I don't eat this, can I substitute this? Because I know in some restaurants, it's like no substitutions, right? And chefs, y'all have this whole thing planned out, like this goes with this balances this. And so certain people may not like sauces, or some people might be like, before they even taste the food, I need hot sauce, or I need this, I need X, Y, and Z. From your point of view, how does that affect you, or are you just cool with everything? Or are you sometimes like DJs hate when you go and request songs sometimes? Are you the type of chef that is like, all right, like I put this together specifically for you to have this flavor with this flavor?
Well, yeah, I mean, you said it. We're artists, right? So like when we're developing a dish, we're trying to get you to maximum flavor point. Like you can get some salty, some umami, some sweetness, some crunch. Right? That's how I think. So when you come in, you're like, JJ, can I have no barbecue sauce? Ooh. I'm like, ooh, you
That's
sure?
Me all day too, by the way.
You sure? Why don't you just why don't you just taste it? And if you don't like it, then I'll give you without the barbecue sauce. But I do think it's one thing to have an allergy, all good. It's one thing not to like things, all good. I just think like if you're gonna go out to eat, just try it.
Right, because I don't eat anything, and it kind of sucks. Because I don't eat seafood, I don't eat red meat, I don't eat pork, and then I don't
Why is that?
I don't know. Well, I stopped eating red meat when I was 17 years old. When I started college, I just stopped eating it. I haven't had pork since I was like a little kid.
That's cool.
I just don't eat pork. And then seafood, my mother never ate seafood, so I never ate it growing up.
Have you tried it?
No.
Why not?
I ate a piece of fish by accident because I thought it was chicken, and but the taste of it was so disgusting to me. I was at a wedding and I spit it right back out, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just something that I never ate growing up. And then my goal is to one day be a vegetarian.
Well, I think big up to vegetarians. I think is a great thing.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Like, I think even food on menus now, you'll see a lot more vegetable items in restaurants than ever before. I think there's a place on the menu for everything. Like a chef's supposed to design a menu to try to fit as many people as they can. Right. And especially like you're saying you haven't eaten pork since 7, or I mean, I used to eat a lot of pork. I don't eat that much pork anymore. Red meat, a lot of people don't eat red meat. My Aunt Jeannie doesn't eat red meat anymore. Right. So when I'm cooking at home for my family, I'm thinking about all those things. My wife doesn't eat pork. There's no pork in our house. My aunt doesn't eat red meat. So when I'm cooking for somebody at home, I'm thinking about that the same way I think about it in the restaurant. Like we have tons of items for vegetarians. We have tons of meat items. We have seafood. Right. So there's a place for all. And
That's why rice is a great common denominator, because you can add whatever,
It's like the Swiss Army knife.
It is. Like vegetable fried rice, you can get pork fried rice, which my family loves. You could do jollof. You could do jambalaya. You could do whatever.
You could do whatever, yeah, 100%. And that's what I'm showing you in the simple art of rice. Is like you could just turn a page and make a simple white rice that you love. Right. Or you can go to jollof, or you could do a Middle Eastern dish, or you could do gumbo. You could build it up, but it is something that helps you while you're cooking at home, because you could cook one pot of rice that will last you 3 days, and then you can flavor it, hit it next day with butter or chicken fat or whatever you want to do.
And put it in the wok. That fried rice is great, and it's best with the leftover rice.
We making fried rice when you come on Just Eats.
Okay, good. I like that.
Because you said fried rice a couple times. I didn't know if you were trying to hint like, JJ, we got to do the vegetable fried rice. So noted, vegetable fried rice.
What's a great first meal? Let's just say somebody is having somebody over their house for the first time on a date, and people always talk about like that first meal, how to get him or her interested. Hey. Right? What would you say for somebody? This is a great first meal that you can't mess up, and that is pretty universal as far as what people like.
That was my MO back in the day.
Tacos. I feel like that was my MO. Or spaghetti. That's like the thing guys do, tacos and spaghetti.
I think like once somebody starts to cook for somebody and they come over, it's like there's a sense of like, ooh, I'm gonna stay here a little longer. Like they didn't just order takeout. Right. So just cooking something, even if it's just like bolognese and spaghetti, or if it's
see, that sounded fancy.
Or if it's roasted salmon and rice from the simple art of rice. Like it's whatever you do. But what I think is cool is when you're talking to the person, you're asking them, hey, what's some of your favorite foods? What do you like to eat when you go out? Like get to know them. So then when you do cook, it's like, oh, this person listens. Right.
Right.
So like I make for my wife, I do something simple when she's mad at me. I do ribeye bone in with some like little pea potatoes that I boil with brown butter and parsley.
Okay. Does she ever get mad on purpose so she can get her favorite meal?
Maybe. I'm gonna have to talk to her on the side now and find out. But yeah, I mean, I think cooking for somebody is
it's a beautiful, intimate
thing, and you can set the room. You get to pour a nice glass of wine, or you can shake a cocktail.
Right.
I mean, there's a way to. It's a really way to show off.
I like when people who normally don't cook will make the effort to cook for you.
You know, if they don't cook,
right.
The rice is burnt.
It may not taste that good, but it's made with love, as people like to say. It's made with love. Have you ever had to tell somebody you didn't like their food, and what is the way to do that?
Like a person or a restaurant?
A person.
I don't think I've ever told a person in their house. Like I just, I'm not eating that much anymore. I think
right,
that's
you gotta hide it in a napkin. You gotta hide the food in a napkin. And
kind of fold the paper plate. You fold the paper plate in half.
Put it in your purse.
Fold the paper plate in half and like slide it in the garbage can and push it all the way down.
Damn, a paper plate?
Yeah, you put the paper.
So they're serving you at their house with a paper plate. I already know it's not gonna be.
People don't like to do dishes with a lot of people over.
Right. Okay.
But if it's intimate, I hope I'm not getting served on a paper plate.
Exactly. So now you have to be like,
I don't know what I'm gonna do then.
Yeah, just for people. And so now for you as a restaurant owner, when people come out, do you take offense to? Because I don't like sending food back but it has to be like a real reason that I'm sending it back, right? How do you feel if somebody sends something back because it's not what they anticipated, but it's exactly what it said on the menu?
I'm only sending it back if it has to be like really, really bad. Like I sent a plate of food back recently at a like really well-known restaurant where the shrimp was bad.
Okay.
And like once I tasted it,
you're like, this is bad.
I was like, oh,
I'll be sick.
Yeah. And I sent it back and I let them know. They apologized profusely. They wanted to make me a new one. I was like, no, I want to do something else.
Right.
And I think we at Field Trip listen to the people,
mm-hmm.
and we listen to what they're writing in the comments on Google or on Yelp. We reach out to everybody, good or bad.
Right.
And I think if somebody's having a bad experience, we might not win them over. They might not hit us back, but we just want to let them know like we care, unless they say something wild.
Right.
But I don't really, if I don't like something in a restaurant, I just kind of keep it to myself. Young JJ would have definitely been like, yo, this is trash, or like whatever. But now I'm just like, it's a chef critiquing a chef. All chefs critique chefs, mm-hmm. and we all will find a flaw in something. So I think we try to keep it real minimal. Now, I also want to talk about the New York City Wine and Food Festival, because that's another place where we're going to see each other coming up. It's going to be fun. Yeah, so let's talk about what you have going on, because it's the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, and I know Ice-T is going to be there. Yes. I'll be there. So what is happening at the New York City Wine and Food Festival, just so people know, and people can actually come to this, right? Yes, they can come to this. I think it's going to be one of the best events ever at New York City Food and Wine Festival all time. The food theme of the event is the cookout. And, what do you bring to the cookout? Mm-hmm. That's the theme. That's what every chef was asked. What you bringing? What am I bringing to the cookout? I'm bringing some coffee. Bringing some coffee? Nobody has coffee at a cookout. But I tell you what, I like grilled vegetables. That's what I'm bringing, just for all the people who are vegetarians. I love to put my corn on the cob on the grill. I even like any type of like zucchini, all of that stuff like on the grill, I think. It's delicious. Yeah, it's a different type of vibe. I think no food tastes better than food that's on the grill. I think I love zucchini. Like zucchini come off the grill, basil, rice wine vinegar. Mm-hmm. Just like that. Yes. Some salt. Okay. Delicious. Little tips here. But yeah, at the cookout, so everybody was asking, every chef, like 18 chefs were asked, what would you bring to the cookout?
Chicken.
Only thing you're not allowed to bring to the cookout is potato salad with raisins in it. Okay, no, absolutely not. All right. And I hand selected all the chefs. They're all African-American chefs from New York City. Nice. Everybody's bringing something different. There'll be beef patties and cocoa bread. There'll be Preston from Lore's bringing his famous fried shrimp. Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm doing Liberian jollof. Field Trip is doing pineapple black fried rice and salmon. And I think the greatest thing is at the cookout, there's always great music, right? Right. And there's no way to celebrate 50 years of hip hop without being out the cookout, because the food represents the music, and I think it'd be very nostalgic. Oh, I cannot wait for this. So, and I don't feel like the Wine and Food Festival has ever done anything like this before. No, never done anything like it before. I've been working with Lee Schrager. He's been inviting me to the festival for many years, But over the last 2 years, I reached out to him and was like, listen, we got to get a little bit more diverse. There's more black chefs cooking at the high level, owning restaurants than ever. Why are we not focused on them?
Right.
And we did a small cookout event in South Beach, Food and Wine, which I hope you come to.
Oh, listen.
And I got you. And it was great. And it was great, sold out quickly. And Lee said, do you want to do a really big event in New York? So I think that the festival started to see that black people want to be at these events.
Absolutely.
And the number one person buying food and wine right now in the space is women, but it's black women.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really tapping into that and celebrating it. And I hope that will, change the course of how people are viewing food, how they're viewing restaurants, who they're putting at the helm, all that stuff. Even
if I think about like Tatiana's in New York and what a big deal that was when that opened and how hard it is to get a reservation.
I don't know what Kwame's doing over there. How he's got the books blocked. Like, it's crazy to get in there.
My friends be hitting me up like, can you get me into, I'm like, look, I don't want to. But I mean, but that just goes to show you, just to see like the success that he's had in opening that restaurant, and the demand is definitely there. Even for me to see, more Caribbean restaurants opening, that's a big deal.
I think there's a lot of Caribbean restaurants open all through Brooklyn now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brooklyn is definitely like anytime I need some Caribbean food, I feel like Brooklyn is where I gotta go for that.
There's a lot of places just all around the country. Like when I think about my fellow chefs like Mashamba Bailey in Savannah, Georgia, or Nina Compton in New Orleans. I think when you go back to the Seale, what Alexander and Dick Parsons did was they birthed, when you look 10 years, that's 10 years ago, birthed a new movement of food alongside Marcus Samuelson to really pave this way for people to feel confident in us to cook. It's only going to get better and better and better. So.
And those are the restaurants I really love to support. Like even to see Marcus Samuelson, I did something at Havamar at his restaurant. Great. Here in the city. He has an all-woman staff running that restaurant.
They're on Just Eats this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Him and his team.
Oh, good. Well, this is going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm taking a field trip to Harlem.
Oh, I can't wait to have
because
you.
The food is here. It's already the type of thing that I like. It's the vibe that I like. But I want to make sure I actually come.
We would love to have you.
And make that field trip because I feel like I don't go to Harlem enough.
Well, you live in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, I live in Brooklyn.
And I don't get to Brooklyn enough, so it's all good.
All right, good. So we're going to trade. I'm going to bring you guys to some of my favorite places, and then we're going to all take a field trip up to Field Trip.
That'd be great.
Is that a deal?
Works for me.
All right, so everybody just make sure y'all come out. How can people get tickets to go to the New York City Wine and Food Festival? Because they are invited to the cookout, right?
They're everybody listening is invited to the cookout.
I love when people say, is this person invited to the cookout?
You can even invite that person.
Yeah. Even who's not invited. Except for if you make potato salad with raisins in it, you're not invited.
You're definitely not invited. Nobody's even going to let you in through the door.
But you can go to nycwff.org, and we'll all be there. And just so you know, it's going to be DJ Cassidy, Reverend Run, Ice-T, DJ Mick. They're actually going to also have cocktails. That's important, too.
Yes.
Right? Because with great food, you need some great drinks.
Bacardi.
We can't skip on that.
Bacardi cocktails, yeah.
Yeah. And Bacardi owns Patron. So.
Yes, there'll be Patron.
Okay.
There'll be, I think, Douce.
All right, we're into it. And that's all taking place Sunday, October 15th. So let's make sure we do that. You're also a James Beard Foundation Award winner, too.
Yes, I am. I won a James Beard Award for my first cookbook called Between Harlem and Heaven.
Mm-hmm. I have that book.
Thank you. I've been nominated 11 times for.
And then you got it.
Yeah. So, and then, so that's honors, the Oscars, the Grammys of the food space.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep dreaming. That's it. I think that's what keeps me going.
All right, well, I love it. But we cannot wait to see everything else that you have going on. But you got a lot on your plate already. But the one thing is this book, The Simple Art of Rice, is available now. If you love rice like I do, I feel a little better after our conversation. Because, people always try to make it sound like you're not supposed to be eating.
We got to talk to those people.
But that black forbidden rice, that is my thing, too. But I'm going to actually try some of these recipes, so I'm excited about that.
Please do.
No, I will, because I cook rice all the time at home, and I actually have a wok. I love my woks.
But you love the rice cooker, right? So in the back of the book, there's this thing called the rice packets, where you can put your spices from your cupboard or cabinet, mix it in like a freezer bag.
These look so good.
And then throw it in your rice cooker, and you'll get beautiful, fluffy za'atar rice or yellow rice or Indian rice, just for the everyday working person.
Y'all have no idea how many recipes are in this book with some rice, so I'm excited for this. And also make sure you guys check out Field Trip, and also make sure you watch when I'm on Clio TV with you.
Yes, Just Eats all day.
Just Eats with Chef JJ. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.